Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. So this week we are over at the lot. We're going to be furiously working on getting the strip planking done on the starboard hull because we want to get that done within the next 2 weeks. But we also have a couple of other topics we're going to cover. One of them is a story about a shipment from the Netherlands.
And we finally got the BMSs in, and we're going to get to repairing those batteries that those BMSs got burnt out from a short, not in the batteries, but in the Victron equipment. So we're going to get to all that, but we're going to start out with that little story. So we're going to move over to the side of the house for that. Well, we have a story to tell you, and it has to do with shipping a large shipment from the Netherlands to us. And the company that was shipping to us is a Combi ePropulsion, one of our sponsors. We love Combi. They've been wonderful to us all along. And here's the sort of the beginning of the story. They contacted me and said my shipment's ready to go. The only thing that's held it up this long is that they've designed a new magnetic coupler for us, which I mentioned in another video. And that was purely on something I asked them to do, and then they decided to make a whole new product for their company and sell it. So now, because I asked for one, they now sell one. And that delayed things because they had to not only design and make this magnetic coupler to disconnect the prop shaft from the engine when I want by a push of a button, but they had to redo all of the bracketing on the electric motor that attaches to our nanny diesel. So they had to do a ton of work for this, but they didn't charge me anything to redo all of that stuff. They've just been great. So they email me and they tell me that this shipment is ready to go. And in the email it says there's only one thing missing, which is the little electronic control panel. That's just back ordered and it won't come in until December, but I have no need for this December. It'll be way into next year before I need that. So that's no big deal. But I wrote back to them and I asked them, well, when that does come in, can you air ship that control panel to me? Because I didn't want to have to wait months in case it took longer than even December. They write back and say, what do you mean? We're air shipping the entire shipment, all the electric motors, everything, 2 crates worth of stuff. It's all coming by air, and it's all included in the price, the air shipment. I don't even have to pay $1 extra for that. Sweet. So that's what I learned. 3 days later, I get an email from the shipping receiving company in our port, and our email says, and this I get at 4 in the afternoon on the West Coast, and their email says, your shipment is arriving Monday. We need all your customs paperwork to get done. So either fill out this power of attorney or have your customs agent take care of it.
And our customs agent is on the East Coast, so they were already closed for the day. So it was Monday that I was able to contact them and try and get them working on all the customs paperwork, which took about a couple of days to complete. And finally then the import company says to us, okay, we've got all your documentation for customs and duty done. We're gonna ship this. What they said was we will contact you to arrange delivery.
Right.
Right. So they didn't contact us to arrange delivery. They contacted us to say, your shipment is coming today.
Today.
So we tried to contact them to find out a time frame of when it was coming, whether or not they have a lift gate or we needed a forklift in order to be able to move the pallets off their truck. Nothing was responded to by email. You can't call these folks because they're very difficult to get a hold of by phone. So Phil had to get to the lot to get to work on the boat because we cannot, delay that. I had a funeral to go to that morning, so I wasn't able to stay here and wait. So we went our separate ways, and we were hoping for the best.
Yeah, I was hoping to get an email from them, but the one saving grace here was that we have this Ring doorbell, and it actually goes off at the lot. Mm-hmm. And so I heard it go off while we're working on the boat, jumped in my car, raced over here, and sure enough, the semi's sitting on our street, And the guy's just getting ready to leave as I pull up, and I stopped him, and so instead of these 2 crates going all the way back to the port in LA, we did get them unloaded, and we're sitting on them. These 2 crates right here are our Combi hybrid propulsion system. And if you're not familiar with the combo propulsion system that we're going with, which consists of a single 80 horsepower diesel with a 25 kilowatt electric motor attached to that in parallel. And on the other side of the boat, just a 25 kilowatt electric motor. I don't want to go into all the details of that because we made a video. Here's a link to it. And you can watch all about why we chose that system and all the benefits of it. But the whole electronic side of it is here sitting in these 2 crates. And of course, we already got the nanny diesel as well. So other than that one little control panel that will come around December, we have the entire propulsion system for SV Lynx ready to go. So that was our little strange receiving. Here we thought it was going to be months before these arrive because they have to go through the Panama Canal. If they're coming from the Netherlands, they go to cross the Atlantic, then they got to go to the Panama Canal. And if you know, but the Panama Canal is experiencing a drought right now. And all large ships aren't able to go through anymore, only smaller ships. And so that's causing huge delays. And we didn't know if this was going to take 4, 6 months to get these. Instead, they arrived in 3 days. Here they are. So yesterday we got more of these on. We're moving along nicely, like we talked about, meeting on the center in both sides, alternating. So we're going to put 4 boards on this morning right now. It may seem like we're going a little bit slower than the first hole when we got all the planks on, but we're actually going faster because in the first time we did it, we only dry fitted all of it, and then we took it all off, and then we put it all back on again, putting epoxy on. Well, right now we've been putting them on with epoxy. They're done, they don't have to come off again. So actually this is coming along nicely. So we'll get one on each side this morning, and then we'll let that set up, and then this afternoon we'll try to get another set on. So we'll see how it goes. All right, get some more epoxy on. Not a twist. Oops, not a twist on this. Let's get something to push on here. We got a lot done today. Quite a few of these flats are on. We put the bead on, and then we make sure that it's spread across the whole top of the board and a mound there, because we want it to squeeze out both sides when we put it up, which is what we're going to be doing momentarily. We have to be careful as we raise these boards up because they've got the epoxy bead on them, and at the ends, if they go flying around, they'll hit and scrape off our bead. So we try not to actually get the end up too close. We just get the middle stuck and then move towards the ends. Temporary clamps just to hold it there. Now we'll screw it in. put quite a bit of pressure on it for a few seconds and let the squeeze out come out. We go from the middle to the front, and then we go back to the middle and go to the stern. Just screwed it in home, so we're putting in a longer one. All right.
One here, or just let it float it.
There we go. And then I'm just coming along here and I'm just feeling. And for example, this board is higher than that board right there. And yes, we usually have these clamps ready to go. Didn't get one right here. So down, that's absolutely flush again. There. So that's it. Everything's level. Where you don't see a clamp, that's because it was already perfectly smooth. I only need to put them where they're off slightly. This one, the board was pulled this direction, so we tightened that in a little bit. And that's going to do it because we've used up most all of our clamps. So this is as many boards as we can get on in a day, simply because we did a set of 4 this morning. Went to lunch, let them set up, and did some more in the afternoon with the same clamps again. So sort of have a limit by the number of clamps. Our BMSs, as I'm going to show you right now, have arrived. I'm going to be putting those back into the batteries, and I have an electrician coming over to help me troubleshoot the short in the system so that we can get our system back up and running, figure out what the heck happened. And that way we'll get our power system and we can quit using the gas generator, because our gas right now is expensive, $6 a gallon. So prefer to use the free solar for our power. So that's it for today. See you tomorrow. The Gray Friday, which is to do with tomorrow, which is going to be a rainy Saturday. So when we're done today, we're going to have to cover everything. So we'll take all of our tarps down and cover anything that shouldn't get wet. So that means we won't be working this Saturday, but we do have today, and it's nice and cool out. So we're going to go with our West System epoxy here and start putting on more slats. And as you can see over here, we're coming along. We're getting close to meeting up. This is the one we're about to put on right here. Then we'll put one on the top, and just about meeting up at the front there. So the full length pieces that we've been doing are almost finished, and we'll start our cut-in pieces on Monday. But today we're going to try to close this off pretty much as far as the full length pieces go, because they'll meet up the bow up there. So let's get to it. Mix up some epoxy in the mad scientist mixing area. That's us over here. So like I say, we're going West Systems today, so we're going to go by weight in this case. I don't have any. I can fix that. On these large amounts, we're not doing it by pumps right now because it's just too many pumps. This would be like 60. We're going by weight. It's just easier to pour from this smaller one. $86, 100.
And we'll do another 500. So we split this job into 2 nowadays because we found that West System does, with this particular hardener, does only give us so long to get it on the boat. And if we split it up, get it on there twice as fast. So gives us a little more time to work it. 500. We ready on everything else?
Ready.
Alright, take this one up. And we're putting 3% of our block in there now by weight. And then we just put in silica until we get to the consistency we're looking for, which is basically just thick enough so that it doesn't fall off the board or seep out, but not too thick. We pre-measure this by volume because we've worked out how much by volume it needs to get to that right consistency. After you've done, how many boards have we done now? About 70. Well, 70 when you count both hulls. You start getting some numbers that you know work. Because we're old, we write them all down so we don't forget. Depends on what size. We can just look up how much we want and what all the various ratios are. So this looks like peanut butter. Of course, it's white peanut butter. But we need some bread and jelly, and we could have sandwiches. Once. After that, I don't think we'd be too healthy. I had a meeting with Robert at Schionning yesterday, and we got a lot of good information about some of the next phases that are coming up quickly. That includes putting the lamination on the inside of the hulls, and so I got that all down. We'll go into that when we do it. And also some information about putting the bottom paint on and when we should do that, and is it okay to do it ahead of time. There are a couple of things that we have to prepare for that, but yes, we can put the copper coat on before we flip the hulls over, which is going to make things much easier on us later. And so we're going to be doing that. A couple little tricks we're going to have to do, but other than that, it's going to work. Alright, so now we're going to put these into our Ziploc bags that we like to use. Having tried the other method, we still like our Ziplocs. That stuff. Alright, so let's get this on there. Yeah, get a fine tip. So I'm flattening this out, but then I get to some spot like this where I can see that there's not enough there. So flatten this down and then take a little of that excess and fill that in nicely. There we go. Now it's so much more even. Come out.
minor milestone. We're on the last full-length board. Everything after this will get shorter and shorter and shorter, so less and less epoxy work. So the first half is the most work, and we're just about done with that first half. So we're going to put that final board on that side and then the final board on this side, and we're all set. Well, there was another one of those atmospheric rivers that hit Northern California, and the tail end is sweeping down our way. So it's going to rain tomorrow, and it might rain Sunday as well. So we're just going to take the weekend off. And as you can see, we covered everything. So everything's good to go. Everything except the porthole over there, which we don't really need to cover because it's all epoxied now. And but everything else is, especially the new starboard hull and all the forms and everything. We don't want that all wet, so we got that well covered. Everything else we put inside. So we're good to go for the weekend. And recharge my batteries. Brian recharge his batteries, and we'll come back on Monday and finish up that strip planking.
Well, there's not a cloud in the sky.
Here we are in our garage workshop. Today we're going to be working on switching out the BMS units from our 5 batteries. As you know, we had a little bit of problem with them. The older ones that we're taking out say they can do 200 amps consistently, but it's really only 100 amps consistently and 200 amps occasionally. We're going to be replacing them with this BMS unit, which can do 200 amps continuously and occasionally up to 350 amps.
Right, so what's important about this is we have 6 total batteries. There's 5 here right now. And each of these is put in pairs for a serial connection. And what that means, though, is it brings it up from 24 volts to 48. But whatever BMS is in that pair, that's the maximum it can put out. So they don't add up. So if these pair of each have a 100 amp continuous BMS, then that's all they get for that pair, which means that 3 pairs of these 6 batteries would get us 300 amps continuous. Well, our 2 25 kilowatt electric motors, they can pull about 1,000 amps if we really hit them full throttle. And obviously 300 amps is just not going to do it. And so with this new BMS, these can pull 200. So that means that each pair can do 200 amps continuous, and that's 600 amps. Well, that's still not 1,000 that the electric motors can pull. But remember that 95% of the time, we're going to be going at half throttle or less. So 600 amps is plenty for that. And if for some reason we'd had to, we're heading for a dock or something and we need full throttle for a second, well, these will put out 350 amps per pair, and that's 1,050 amps. So they can put out, for short periods, full throttle on our 25 kilowatt motors. And for regular cruising, while we're just putting along at 5 knots or whatever, they won't need anywhere near that, and they can do that continuously. So these make a big difference. Now, we were going to have to replace these anyway, so a little bit of silver lining to having that short burn out these other BMSs, because we had to replace them with these ones anyway. And we got a very good deal on these, so it really wasn't a terrible hit in cost. For all 6, it was about $400 to replace. So it wasn't a terrible mistake. Today what we're doing is we're going to extract out all these boards. And you can see we've already done the first 4. And here's the 5th one. Let me grab a small camera here. So what you can see here in the small camera is that I designed this battery. And if you want to know about that whole thing, here's a link to the series of videos we made about the construction of these batteries that we did the prototypes for, and they're actually being made now professionally at ThermoWorks. But for these prototypes, and it's a good thing we did prototypes because we just find out a problem with them. Anyway, but for these prototypes, I designed them so that the battery itself was separate from the electronics board, so that you don't have to pull the whole heavy battery out of this case in case you need to work on the electronics. And so, as you can see up here, we've already pulled that electronics board out, and so it just, you undo the couple cables here, a couple spots on the front, which are all accessible at the top, and then just lift it straight up and out. So we're going to get to work on that. All right, so let me take these cables off. Get these covered. Great, so now we'll just pull a couple more spots up here and I can lift the board out. But we won't make you wait through all that. So we'll hop on to the next thing, which is replacing the BMSs.
Okay, so now we've got our electronics board out of the battery case, and we're going to show you a little bit about the old BMS unit was oriented this way. And the new BMS board is going to be oriented a little bit differently because of the length of the cables. So we're going to be putting this on this way. And another thing we wanted to point out is we're going to
Lift it up.
put some risers underneath to give a little bit of airflow under the BMS unit.
Right, just to keep it cool. Part of the problem is that the way these cables here were attached to the BMS on this one, and on this they don't come with them attached. And they did send cables, but they're really, even these ones for 100 amps seemed a bit small to me. Yeah. And so we're going to change these out to a much, much larger cable that we're going to go with here. And that means that we have to make new cables for this so that they'll reach and all that good stuff. So it does require us to do a little work, but it'll be better because these are going to be able to put out between 200 and 350 momentary, and we just don't want these tiny little cables trying to take that much amperage back and forth. So we're going to do that right now, make some new cables. So it takes two of these negative cables off the BMS, and we have one that came in there and that'll work, but the other one we need a short version that we don't have. So we're just going to take this and measure out the right length, which we already did, mark this. And now we'll cut it, make ourselves 6 new cables. Okay, there's one. We can move on to the next one. We won't make you sit through that. We'll move on to the next thing. So we're just finishing up these lugs on here. Now, some heat shrink on. Go on there. 5 more. Well, we got those batteries back in shape, so they're ready to go back to the lot, and we still have some troubleshooting to do on the Victron equipment because we still don't know quite where the short is, but I'm just going to eliminate some of it out of there at first and make sure that we're up and running because we need that power, and then we'll send off some of this equipment to Victron to see what the problem was with it. But we really don't need everything there to get the power running. We just need a bus bar and to hook it up to the solar and that good stuff. So we'll get that taken care of.
And we did really well on the strip planking this week, which is good because we have about another week of that, because in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks, we have a crew of about 12 people showing up to put the basalt on that hull.
Right.
So we need to be completed, but we're doing it in much quicker time than we did the previous hull.
Yeah, I mean, it's going really, really fast. So some of those things we learned on the first one have really come in handy. And we need to get this strip planking done by the end of this next week because we need 1 week to get it prepped for all the basalt. That means we do some minor fairing on the hull to get any big gaps out of there. And also we have to cut all of the basalt and into the right size pieces and get that all prepped and all the peel ply ready and everything, so when those 12 people show up, we're ready to roll, because we don't have time to do any of that once that epoxy starts setting up.
Right.
We have to move.
And we're much more experienced on that whole process as well, so we expect this to go pretty smooth.
Yep. So thanks for watching this week. We always appreciate all of you viewers who come, and we also appreciate our patrons. So thank you all again, and we'll see you next week for the conclusion of all strip planking on SV Lynx. That means when we put that last piece in this coming week, we'll never strip plank again, because we'll have both of the canoes done and the forebeam done, and then there's nothing else on the boat that requires strip planking. Looking forward to that. So that's the plan. However, I do want to mention one other very important thing. We've started some new patron-only videos. Now, we meant to do these from the beginning, but we're just starting to get to them now. But now that we started, we're doing these pretty much every week. And in these videos, we're doing something different than the main videos. We're usually going over some design change or problem thing that we have to fix, so we can get them to chime in with advice and stuff on that. They're shorter videos, but they're all about some modification that we might need to make and that kind of thing. So if you have the means to become one of our patrons, we'd love you to come in, and you'll get all the other perks, plus the patron-only videos that we're now doing. The first one we did is already out, and that one was about how we're going to modify the way the stairs are done going out into the hull, because the current design just didn't work for us, and so we had some major changes we needed to make there. And then this week, the video is we're going over some modifications we're made to the seating in the salon and in the cockpit and the table stuff. So those are those two patron-only videos. So if you like to see those, pop over to Patreon, and you can join at the special crew or above, and you'll get access to those patron-only videos.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
Because you still always get the main long videos, whether you're one of our patrons or not. So again, thanks. See you soon.
Bye.